What are your thoughts on adding more private bossing areas?
See, it's a thing. I don't mind giving access to the boss to fight it. What I do have a problem with, though, is the fact that all the drops can therefore come in the game as fast as, well, infinite people fighting the thing all the time. And certainly that might have something to do with why the Kraken tentacle is so plentiful. Also, it doesn't go out the game very much.
Right.
So what we did for the Dagnoth Kings in today's update was not add infinite of them with private rooms, but add a second one where you can only go if you're on target, a Slayer target, so that people who need one for their assignment can have one, but at the same time we haven't got so many of them for every single player that the the special rings they drop would be coming into the game like the clappers.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what Ash said. It's a matter of balance. We don't want you to just have instances everywhere for that reason. I think God Wars would probably be the next one we want to look at. I've got a report request in with analytics to look at how busy the God Wars chambers are.
Could the leaf-bladed battle axe do its job better?
I think it could indeed be a lot better and more appropriate for what it's meant to be.
Sounds to me like it's inherited, of course, the usual behaviour of a battle axe, the stances of a battle axe.
Yeah.
But being leaf-bladed, it wants to be a slash weapon, because that's the point of a leaf-bladed weapon.
What do you think about offering a buff against Turus and Karesk similar to the Arclight has on demons?
It makes sense.
Makes sense. We'll come up with something, because I mean the whole idea is we got a lot of feedback saying why is it not level 50 like the other leaf-bladed weapons, but the whole point of this was that it's a higher tier weapon. I mean one of the reasons those tasks sucked is because you had to go and use a level 50 weapon instead of your great whip, right?
Or it might have to be a
So
spear.
the whole point was to make this a little bit of a higher weapon so that it's a bit more reasonable to go and do these tasks with. And if it's not quite achieving that, then I think we should have a look at the stats and whatever we do, make it decent.
Cult says, can you add the Xerix teleport to the jewelry box if you have built the last tier?
I don't think it really suits going there, to be honest. The way that it uses the lizard and fangs, it works as a... You've got to use something up, while with the jewelry, you use the jewelry directly.
So they just want a more convenient place. What do you think about like mounting it and having to charge it that way? Similar to the Glory or...
Normally people want things mounted because that way they don't have to keep
Waste
recharging
inventory
them
space.
ever. And we are rather fond of there being a use for lizardman fangs.
I mean, we could get away with it if we gave it a ridiculous amount of fangs cost to create, such as like 100,000.
Right.
But that you still technically get unlimited, but you're probably playing for a number of years before you get that. But I don't think we're planning on taking the game anywhere.
Grimy says, suggestion here, revert the silver jewelry graphics to their old school versions.
So we did that today, kind of. So we swapped the 2D params, so how they look in the inventory of the unenchanted and the enchanted versions. So they still look different. So when you're going through and enchanting a whole inventory, you can see which ones you have and haven't done.
On that 13th says, please make the agility hood count as the graceful hood, just like the agility cape acts as the graceful cape.
No.
Kindle says, can the Ring of Wealth also pick up Tockle as it does with coins?
But no, yeah, we do it with coins. There's no reason not to do it with Tockle. I just think it'll fit a new item better. Perhaps something tradable, cheap and cheerful, and dropped by Bazaar themselves.
Build the Wall says, suggestion, at 99 construction, allow us to mount the Demon Butler's head.
We can expand that hotspot now.
You saw on Demon Butler?
From King, who says, can grape farming be looked at / rebalanced? It's cool content, but seeds are too expensive and barely traded.
We can look at them again and just give more.
Yeah.
Time says, fondest memory of working on Old School since release.
Bank tabs.
I'm going to go Monkey Madness 2.
Master Treasure Charles, that was my first dev project.
Kerry says, when will the name release be?
The support team's got a page about that, and at the bottom it says they haven't announced a date yet. Sorry.
People says, can we please pull Penguin Hide and Seek?
See, 2 years ago, I think that would have been an instant no, but the community's sort of come along with the game since then, and I'd be interested to see if it would pass.
Figgy says, any hopes for Dragon Warhammers to be on the drop table from Shamans inside raids?
Well, if it was at the same rate as Onyx's off Tecton, then I wouldn't actually mind.
Actually, yeah, that's fine.
So we're going to have some images popping up on the screen. Of course, we can't see them, but we have a pretty good idea of what you're looking at. So these are the soon-to-come new Superior Slayer encounters. There we go.
I can see them, yeah.
Ew!
That's probably the reaction he's going for there. Do you want to skip along with these then? There's quite a few.
The mutated insatiable
people will
bloodbath.
screenshot if they please. And I believe these are coming next week, and he has even more coming the week after that.
I
right?
caught up with Mod Ghost earlier today, and we're hopeful of getting most of them out next week.
Right.
But it depends how we go. They might be the week after.
Yep.
But he's making very good progress.
He's made quite a few.
I'm not sure I want to sit near him anymore after seeing some of this.
And they're not just reskins. He's totally rebuilt the models for most of them with
These look great.
all new geometry, and they're just immense.
They are looking. They do look amazing.
Loving the pog chimps. That is such a cool. Oh my god. Basic Fails says, "Why do you keep asking multiple questions in one poll question?" Says he's referencing this recent one that we're going to be polling with the PvP poll. Should the bounty hunter overlay display whether or not your target is skulled and the tier emblem they are holding, if any? And should the bounty hunter target overlay display whether or not your opponent is skulled? Oh, sorry, separating between the skull and holding an emblem.
Well, here's the thing. What we set out to do was think, shall we update that overlay? What else should we put on it? Well, they might like this info, maybe that info. All right, we'll offer to update it with this info. And yeah, we could have split it into separate questions, but to be honest, if you get a poll with lots of things with all the little bitty bits, and half of them depend on each other, it's getting a little bit hard to follow.
Somebody in the chat asked about shift click dropping. Likely be out next week, assuming it passes.
Smithy says, "Could the preserve prayer please be buffed to actually be useful? Asking for 100% instead of 20%.
So he wants all of his potions to last twice as long.
5 times as long.
5 times as long.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Misery says, "Can we look at getting some improvements to pest control pulled, such as more points for highest damage dealt in the game, or more points for every 250 damage dealt?"
See, I did pest control recently. I got all the Void and Elite Void over a number of evenings, and I was thinking about pest control and what we could do to it. And it's to me, it's one of those mini games it just works the way it is. The ecosystem that it has, it works. If you want to go along and not pay as much attention to some of the other people, you just kind of defend. And unless you've got like people that are totally AFK, you generally have a pretty good run. The only thing I would really want to do to it is, apart from maybe add a few more rewards if people have got ideas. Something me and Ronan spoke about not so long ago was doing another Void set and giving the new one, which would be a higher tier, what existing Void range has, and then we would fix the original bugs in the current one.
Yes. Can it have a higher defense requirement?
Yeah, that's what we were discussing.
God.
I was like the deflector thing. So
yeah,
some other piece of Void that you can wear, which gives you a choice of which spot you want to be free. So you'll be able to free up your body to wear like an Armour body. You
Free up
could be
your
wearing
body.
some offhand instead.
Yeah, that was a really cool item. I would love to get that in. Unfortunately, it's got to go through a poll, and I don't see it being too popular.
I love that idea.
I know you would, because you're a level PK.
Mixed in the chat. But there is a
I will
surprising
persuade
number of
as many people as I can.
Mixed in the chat. So.
Well, in case people don't know, Void range is kind of bugged in the sense that it wasn't supposed to be as strong as it is.
Yeah, it's
and now
supposed to
we've
be
accepted it.
It's supposed to be 10%, and it does it twice, so it's 20.
Misery says, "Can you look at the private storage bank in raids? It's actually difficult to remove items, whereas it isn't with the main storage chest."
You know, I've not managed to get to the bottom of that one. People said at first that it was ignoring their clicks or something, so we tried making it a little bit less likely to assume it was a drag request rather than a click request. But even then, they say it less. There used to be a lot more complaints about it before that change, but I've not managed to get to the bottom of what the problem is there.
Chad says, "Can we please have friends-only announcements with a toggle?"
That's something I've discussed once again with Ronan. I think last year I went through a whole achievement system. So RuneScape 3 uses broadcasts for things like monster drops, level 99s, 200 mil on the skill, etc. And you can broadcast them to just your friends, just your clan chat, and the entire world. And there are some that are global, but they're on by default. And when we discussed it, we figured if we were going to do it, it would be off by default, and you would only see what you wanted to see. You'd have full.
So it came up on Reddit a few weeks ago as well. I replied to the thread, and the universal opinion, it seems to be, is that unless it's toggleable, no way. Results from that straw poll. Would you like broadcasts? No, 15%. So 85% of people want to see broadcasts in some sort of variety. Worldwide and friends, toggleable, 67%, and 18% said friends only toggleable.
Which one is the 67?
Worldwide and friends, essentially the suite of toggles.
Okay.
I'll put together some investigation.
Question from Nerveless, who says, "Can you fix the ore shops at Blast Furnace for Ironman? People keep dumping ore so others cannot buy ores. Maybe make the shop delete items faster."
I'm pretty sure we would be able to write some code that makes it, restore downwards faster than it restores upwards. which would mean that people dropping stuff in it don't have the effect of locking the shop up for the rest of the week.
This seems like a good solution. And if you're the Iron Man that is overstocking the shops, stop it.
MF Iron says, can we see a slight buff to the Ring of Life? I think it's long overdue. His argument was interesting. He said, the Ring of Life was implemented many years back.
Yep.
And way back then, the strongest monsters were not very strong at all in comparison to the ones we have these days. So therefore, it makes sense to add a buff, I guess.
20% is, I think, a fair threshold. It'd be interesting to see what the community thought about it. I think 50% might be a bit much.
There was one with an image. I believe it was a suggestion here from the community from 2JZ. It says, graphical update to the jewelry teleport interface in the player-owned house.
Well, it's prettier.
Yeah.
It's an interface that people use a lot. I can see justification in spending time to make a custom interface for that.
Perhaps for the general quality of life poll next week after the PvP
Could well be.
one.
Could well be.
Okay, cool, good idea. From Versace, he says, in Clan Wars, some people leave the clan chat when they get piled or their prayer runs out, and then rejoin the clan chat to come back into the fight. It doesn't count as a kill for the other team, even though it should. So that's really the question is, can that count as a kill for the other team?
So long as we can identify what team they are in when they are in a state where they're not in a team.
Shin Shin says, can you make the rune pouch acquirable from other sources other than the Bounty Hunter store? It's kind of the only thing going for the Bounty Hunter store,
Yes, and perhaps not.
just to say that.
And yet, Dead Man.
Oh, it's true, you can't get it on Dead Man Worlds.
We could put it somewhere else on Dead Man.
The gods.
Wilderness bosses.
Ooh, yeah.
If in Dead Man the wilderness bosses drop the rune pouch, I think that'd be fair. The wilderness bosses don't drop much stuff that's useful in Dead Man.
No.
We could actually let them drop the emblems like they currently do, and then people can get all the stuff from that shop.
And they're
Yeah.
quite dangerous, very far from a safe zone, and
It's true.
not very killed in
Yeah,
Dead
they
Man.
could just drop the emblems.
Sean says, can players with 99 Slayer be able to obtain a task from any Slayer Master, please? In this instance, I believe he is a low combat pure with 99 Slayer, but cannot receive Smoke Devils or Jad because it's based on combat level, not Slayer level.
Hang on, you can toggle off the combat level consideration.
I think he's talking about you can't go to Duradel
I see.
or,
Or Neve, yeah.
or Steve.
While I don't have a problem with the idea in principle, the idea of saying that somebody doesn't have the requirement to go to Duradel, I mean, sure, it's not like a Max Cape kind of requirement, but it's still a requirement. The idea of saying, well, you no longer need that, you will substitute it for something else that you'd rather get.
I think access, so in terms of physically getting there, you still have to do all the quests, but you would supersede the combat requirement to get the task from them with Titan, so that would be okay. Because
You've got something that's technically harder to get than Max Combat. On the other hand, you have chosen not to get your combat level up for a reason.
I definitely understand that you've chosen to limit yourself, but if he's got the 99 Slayer cape and he's not looking for Slayer experience, he's just...
the Warrior
if he's
Guild.
going for like a completionist, I want the Jad put on my pure thing.
The Warrior skill allows it, so if you don't have, because you need combined 130 attack and strength, but if you have 99 attack and 1 strength, it still lets you in. So you can go purchase your
I'm
cape.
pretty sure that was done straight off from launch from the Warriors Guild rather than being something about removing the requirement later.
It's true.
We can, of course, remove the requirement just fine. There's nothing to stop us doing so. They just haven't always gone so well when we did.
It's the element that you can go to Duradel and you'll say, oh wow, what an amazing Slayer you are, here's your cape, but then he won't even give you a test.
Yeah.
It's a little odd.
The thing is here is this would have to be pulled, I can only assume, and this is something that would benefit peers, not even PvP peers, but people who just choose to, make the game a bit more challenging, PVM-wise, so we'll have to see how
It's fair,
it unfold.
I have no issue with it.
One Scott says, can the construction cape be given a second option that will instantaneously teleport you to your house? Currently in PVM scenarios, the cape will open an interface that is easily interrupted by combat.
I had a look at that. It's got another op space for it.
Yeah, we can do that then. Sure.
Fantastic. That's going to sum up the Q&A then. We've got a bunch to save for next week. But, this was pretty painless this week, actually. It was nice. Comfy
So much
couch,
easier
too.
than going to the pubs, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. That being said, I don't know if we'll be back here again next week.
You're welcome to use it if you need it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very
We'll
much for
figure
hosting
things
us this time.
You're welcome.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Aside from that, well, thank you for watching. We'll catch you next week.
Bye.
Alright, so now it's time for my take on the questions. I'm going to try and fire through these as quick as I can. There's over 20 questions, so I'll get through as quick as I can. Number 1. More private or instance bossing areas. Personally, I don't mind the idea, but I think they should remove the unique drops. The unique drops, particularly the super rare drops, because if you keep adding them into the game, eventually everything's just going to be dirt cheap. Number 2, can a leaf-bladed battle axe do its job better than it currently does? Yeah, personally I would give it a specific buff for the monster. 5% damage boost and accuracy boost, in my opinion, would be good. Number 3, add Xeric teleport to jewellery box. Providing it could be mounted and charged to use it, maybe a fee as well to obviously charge it. I don't have any objection to it at all. Number 4 was the silver jewellery graphical update. I believe John said that they'd already added this to the game as of this recording, so spot on. Number 5 was the agility skill cape hood perk. Personally, I wouldn't add this because if you do, it's just a matter of time until everyone wants, well, not everyone, certain people want all hoods to have a skill cape hood perk. Personally, I would just remove the hoods from the game, but add the hood to the graphic of the skill cape. So I think in RuneScape 3 they had it, and I believe late on in the original graphics that there was like a hood on the actual design. But either way, I would just add it to the actual cape itself and then just remove the hoods from the game because they're pretty pointless. Number 6, can the Ring of Wealth pick up Tockle? I don't see why not. But perhaps a new item would be better to do it rather than the Ring of Wealth itself. Number 7. At 99 construction, can we mount the Demon Butler's head? Personally, I think it's a great idea. It's very RuneScapey. I'm not actually too sure why it were originally added when Construction Skill was released. Perhaps a dialogue as well. You know, like when you try and get it, a dialogue with the Demon Butler to tell him that his services are no longer required, then perhaps maybe follow it with a cutscene with the Demon Butler walking off, but you following him slowly behind him, like with a saw in your hand. Obviously, you wouldn't see yourself cut the Demon Butler's head off, but watching your character walk slowly behind him with a saw in your hand would be quite funny, I think. But then, obviously, after that, you would see the Demon Butler's head on the wall. I think that'd be quite funny and good to see. Number 8, can grape farming be more balanced? Yeah, a buff wouldn't hurt it at all. It wouldn't damage prices in any way, so why not? Number 9 was the fondest memory of working on at OldSchool RuneScape. But obviously I don't work for Jagex, so I would go with my personal favourite update. I didn't play it at the time, but obviously coming back into the game now, the Grand Exchange has to be the most important, vital and memorable update in my opinion, because you imagine if they remove that now, how different this game will be played. It would be shocking. Number 10 was, when will name releases be? So that's like for band accounts and such. Ash said no dates have been announced for it yet, but if you search on the RuneScape wiki, not the wiki page, but on the knowledge base site, apparently if you search for names, that would be a good place to find out. Number 11, add Penguin Hide and Seek to the game. Personally, it doesn't affect me either or, so I would just run a poll, and if people want it, add it. Why not? Number 12, can Dragon Warhammers be dropped by Shaman inside raids? Personally, I would not add this at all unless they were stupidly rare. I believe at keeping them as they are, because there's nothing wrong with it. I don't see why you should change something what's not broke. Number 13 wasn't really a question, it was just the sneak peek. And wow, do they look good. They look absolutely fantastic. So I'm looking forward to seeing these in game. Number 14 was, why do polls occasionally ask multiple questions regarding the initial question that was already asked? And from what I can understand, it's obviously to get a better understanding of what the community actually wants, like if they decide they want it, rather than the poll question just actually, do you want it, yes or no? Going into further details on a different question underneath it obviously gives a better understanding. The thoughts, well, it wasn't a question, it was more of an update from Kieran saying about shift click dropping, should I say. Personally, I voted no to this. It's already passed, so me telling you this doesn't make any difference at all. I don't like the idea of it. I believe people voted yes mainly because of the AHK thing. Personally, I don't like it, and it's not going to ruin the game because people will just use it anyway, even if they say they won't. But personally, I didn't want it, and I don't think it should have been added. But if the community wants it, the community gets it. Number 16, can Preserve Prayer be buffed? Totally agree with this. I don't personally have the prayer myself, but from what I've read and what I understand, it's not very good. I would have it, apparently it's 20% longer, so personally I would have it maybe boost up to 50% longer and keep the drain rate the same for the prayer. It's an extra prayer, you don't have it by default, so I would do that. Number 17 was, how can we improve activity or buff pest control? Personally, I would have a most damage to portals rather than, well, most damage to portal gets you 1 extra point. That way people who just kill the monsters, although it does help win the game, because obviously they're defending the actual Void Knight, they can't farm extra points easier, so I would do damage to the portals as 1 extra point. Number 18 was the big controversial void range question. Well, debate rather than question. So this might be a bit more, my answer is going to be a bit more longer than the others, but I'm going to try and go into as much detail as I can. Hopefully I'll keep it in under a minute anyway. Right, so in my opinion, it needs to be fixed. Everyone has known for a very long time that void is OP and totally bugged. Personally, I would add an higher tier void set for all 3 styles, right? Range, melee and mage. I would have the ranged buff be 20% damage boost. Melee I would improve to 15% accuracy and damage dealt. And mage I would keep the accuracy at 30%, but I would add a 5% damage boost. But I would also cap the damage done at what the max it currently is for the highest spell. So Ice Barrage wouldn't hit any more than it already does. But obviously the 5% damage buff would help all the other lower spells. So obviously it would give people more variety of what spell to use rather than just using barrage all the time. I would also make the defense requirement be 75. I think adding a 75 defense requirement would be decent, providing the damage boost that you've already got. The armor stats itself I would maybe relate to rune, because if you've got 75 defense to wear it but you're only getting a defense boost of runite, I don't see an issue there. You're still going to take a shed load of damage. I would add 1 prayer point to each piece of armor, similar to the elite, but obviously without the diary complete because of the defense requirement itself. Number 19, private storage bank in raids. Apparently there's a bug with that. Ash said he hasn't found a way to fix it yet, but he's going to be looking into it, so I can't really help with that. Number 20, global or friends only announcement. Brilliant idea. This should have been added, honestly, years ago. This should have been added like 2007, to be fair, when RuneScape was originally out. 2004 even. It's a brilliant idea. Needs to come with a toggle, of course, but yeah, definitely add this. Number 21 was the Blast Furnace Ore Shop. Sorry, the Blast Furnace Ore Shop buff for Ironman. Personally, I don't have an Ironman account, so I have no opinion on this, but obviously if it benefits them and it's not OP, why not add it? Number 22, a Ring of Life buff. Personally, I would buff it to a 20%. 20% health, then it teleports you out, but obviously I would pay for the buff. Personally, I would use it as like a small gold sink, maybe 100k coins with 1 use only. So you pay 100k coins, once you've used it, the Ring of Life gets deleted or disintegrates, whatever it does, and then you have to buy a new Ring of Life, and then if you want to buff that one again, that would also cost 100k as well. Use it as like a small gold sink. Number 23 was the suggestion of the jewelry teleport interface. I really like this. Hopefully they pull just how it is and it passes, because I wouldn't change anything on it. It looks borderline perfect. Number 24 was a possible Clan Wars bug where if a player leaves a chat before he's killed and then comes back into the chat, it doesn't register as a death. I think this needs to be fixed as soon as possible, especially because Jagex have said time and time again they want to do more clan-based updates in the future, so this definitely needs to be resolved as soon as possible. Number 25, can rune pouches be obtainable without the Bounty Hunter store? No, it's been like this for years. Keep it like this. Well, not years, but yeah. Keep it like this. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't see an issue in doing what they said for the Dead Man. The Dead Man thing's fine. Add it to like boss monsters, yeah, why not? But not for the normal game. Number 26, we're almost at the end now. Can players with 99 Slayer get a task from any NPC overriding a combat level requirement? yeah, personally, I don't see why not. It's just the same as, in my opinion, like having 99 attack or 99 strength going into the Warriors Guild. You don't originally have the 130 requirement joined together, but you've got skill cape, so it should override the combat requirement no matter what, to be honest. Number 27, the final question. Can the 99 construction skill cape have a teleport to house option? Brilliant idea. Don't know why it wasn't considered to begin with. Fantastic idea. Just needs to add in. It'd be a good addition as a skill cape perk. So that pretty much concludes the video. Just want to say thank you for watching and or listening to this. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Stay tuned for next week's Q&A, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.